I've learned that, with your bourbon, if it's out, people have access to it and they're going to make sure that it gets opened. But I think that's one of the best parts about bourbon. Like I said, most of these bottles are bottles that I got from gifts from people. And there's nothing I like more than sharing it with friends and family.
And joining the show is none other than the great Kyle Rudolph from the Minnesota Vikings. How you doing, Kyle? Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, Fred. Thanks for having me on.
So how long you been a bourbon fan?
So I have a lot of family throughout Kentucky, Frankfort, Lexington, all the way up northern Kentucky. So kind of something that I grew up around. One of my best friends went to school down in Louisville, played at Bellarmine, and stayed in Louisville for the last 15 years. So I feel like we were kind of entrenched in the bourbon world. And before recent years, when bourbon kind of came the trendy thing, it was what most of my family drank.
Yeah, that's anybody who has a Kentucky connection, they're going to become a bourbon fan. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So how you holding up in this state of isolation?
I'm doing well. My family and I are getting used to this kind of new normal. For me, obviously, the biggest transition was figuring out how to train at home, making sure that I'm staying in shape. We're not really sure when we'll go back in terms of our off season, but making sure that I find ways to burn off the bourbon or two that I have at night after a long day with 3 kids under 4. Making sure that I get up the next day and work out.
Well, I know that bourbon can help with all those things, So when do you normally sip? Are you right after dinner or during dinner? How do you sip? When do you sip your bourbon?
Yeah, most of the time after dinner. Maybe even at times before dinner. A lot of times I like to have a bourbon of sorts to kind of start the evening, if we're going to go out and have cocktails or, maybe even having like red wine or something with dinner. For me, it starts with bourbon.
Yeah. Well, from the looks of it, boy, you've amassed quite the collection back there.
Yeah, like I said before we came on, most of them are gifts from people. I stole the grape crate idea from our good friend Noah McMahon, and Noah showed me how to do that with the grape crates, and it's been kind of cool. This is a different room. We actually have a bar downstairs, but this is off of our main floor, and when you come in from the kitchen, you just want to grab a quick cocktail. It's right here.
Well, and you also got to hide you're going to learn this. You got to hide the good bourbon from people who come over, because
yes.
That Van Winkle you got there and that Weller, before you know it, 1 drink is 2 and then it's 3 and then you don't have the bottle anymore.
Exactly. I've learned that, with your bourbon, if it's out, people have access to it and they're going to make sure that it gets opened. But I think that's one of the best parts about bourbon. Like I said, most of these bottles are bottles that I got from gifts from people. And there's nothing I like more than sharing it with friends and family, neighbors, people that come by, and we like to have a good time and open up good bottles of bourbon.
And you brought up Noah. We have to tell the audience about this guy because he's one of the most philanthropic, just biggest heart people in the entire world. Noah's a great, great human being.
He is. I mean, he's one of the nicest people. And, I got to know Noah. Obviously, he shares an office with Athletes First, the agency that represents me. And I've gotten to know Noah a little over 10 years ago. And he never ceases to amaze me with his philanthropy and, his big heartedness, always wanting to give back. And, he usually has really, really good bourbon sitting around, and it's a lot of fun to have a glass with him.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a special guy, and big thanks to him for connecting us. And, I sent you 5 whiskeys. They're not all bourbons. I threw an Irish whiskey in there. I threw in a Redbreast 12-year-old. This is kind of like this is what I would consider the bourbon drinker's Irish whiskey. Mm-hmm. Like this is what Julian Van Winkle drinks, the guy who makes Pappy, who blends Pappy. So
Yeah.
this is what everybody in the whiskey world, kind of gravitates toward. They really, really like it. And then I sent you a vintage Four Roses 2014 single barrel. Very good. A barrel bourbon 15-year-old. Now this one my best American whiskey for last year. So this one, oh boy, it's good. And then a Doc Swinson's 15-year-old and Weller Full Proof. I see you got a Weller Full Proof behind you there, so you're familiar with this one.
I'll let you guess who gave me that bottle.
I'll bet it was Noah.
Yes.
Yeah. I got one too, and I've already drained mine. It was really good. I noticed it's not open yet, though.
It's not, and that's so we got it after the season, and again, like I said, I like to share my better bottles, and obviously in season is when I have a lot of my family and friends here in town, and our thing is kind of going downstairs after a game on Sunday night and getting into some of this good stuff. So saving it for that.
That's good. So you'll share a dram with the teammates after a game.
Yeah, whether it's teammates or, like I said, friends and family that are here in town, they come up from Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky a lot for home games, and then playing in the Central Time Zone. Most of the time, we're done and home by 4:30, 5 o'clock, and it's straight to the bourbon bar. Pour a glass over a rock and get going for the night.
Well, I'm excited to taste with you here. I told Noah you've always been one of my favorite players. As soon as you came in the league, the tight end is I think that's one of the most. To me, it's the position where you can build a team around in some ways, and you can definitely see that the Vikings have done that with you. You didn't get there. You got there in 2011, right?
Correct. Yeah, 11 was my first year.
Okay, so you didn't get to play with Brett Favre then?
I didn't. Brett's last year was 10.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, a lot of good stories about Brett. I mean, just one of those guys that everyone in the locker room loved. Our training staff, the strength coaches, just everyone in the organization had nothing but good things to say about Brett.
I became a Vikings fan when he went over there. He's just one of those guys that you just love to watch play because he left it all on the field. Sometimes for the bad.
Yeah. No, he definitely left it all out there, like you said. Not always for the better, but you got to take that and you got to appreciate it.
But you guys have got a great team, got a good chemistry. Kirk Cousins is I love him. I think he's a great quarterback. One of those guys that very consistent. So
yeah, thank you.
And definitely got the best tight end in the league.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So how about we go ahead and crack into that Redbreast 12-year-old?
All right, you got it. The lightest of the 5, I noticed.
Yeah, so bourbon has to go into new charred oak barrels, and Irish whiskey does not. So the newer a barrel is, the more color will be extracted from it. So Irish whiskey is going into used bourbon barrels, and they will have extracted, been worked pretty hard, had a lot of that, a lot of those wood sugars and the tannins, sucked out of it. So so this is it is lighter, but it is 12 years old. So first thing we want to do is we kind of want to swirl it around a little bit, get a good swirl going. Then bring it to the nose. When you smell whiskey, it's really, really important to smell with your mouth open. By doing that, you're actually relaxing your olfactory, and you can pick up more than just the alcohol fumes. So you're able to. Oh, here I get some honey, some grapefruit. What are you picking up?
Yeah, definitely. The honey is strong. I don't know if it's just my sense of smell, but that's what I'm getting.
Yeah, it's
through the most.
It's a strong honey note for sure. And so now when we taste, you want to put a little bit on the tip of your palate and just kind of let it walk itself back. Now don't shoot it. Now, you're a veteran. You're a veteran bourbon drinker, so I don't have to worry about that with you. But
so speaking of Noah, I have a great story. We were out in their office in California, and he had a lot of the rookies in this year's athletes first class to his office, and we were hanging out having a bourbon. And one of the rookies came in and had never had bourbon before, poured him a glass. I want to say it was the 15 Willet. So
Wow.
unbelievable glass of bourbon. You know, and that's how Noah is. He's always pouring the best for everybody and sharing his good stuff. And this guy just takes it right down the hatch, just shoots it. Oh, well, that's what happens.
Well, that guy, well, and the thing is that if we don't teach people that you don't do that, then it's going to happen, you know? So I guess that's the one gift I can give the world is don't shoot great bourbon.
Yeah,
Leave the shooting for things like Fireball.
absolutely.
Oh man. That just sits on there, and more of that honey note for me. That's a really
Even stronger. Yeah, absolutely.
So this is actually a pretty easy bottle to find. You should be able to get that in any of your liquor stores there in Minnesota. I think you guys got Total Wine. You have a Total.
There's a Total Wine up the street, and then right downtown. We live in Wayzata, Minnesota, and right downtown Wayzata, there's a liquor store, and I'm pretty sure we have the all-time record for like club points.
Oh, nice.
We've just saved them up for probably almost 10 years. And like I said, family and friends are always coming in town for home games, and they always go there. And each time they go for a beer run or get a couple bottles of bourbon, they're like, you know, you can use these points, and like, oh, we'll just save them. So I think we have the record for the most points down in the Wayzata Spirit Shop.
Wow. And there's another. It's a small liquor store. It's owned by a friend of mine, a guy who gets really good barrel picks. It's called Shorewood Liquors.
Yeah.
If you get a chance, check them out. So what he does, kind of like Noah does, he gets his own barrels, and he's got some good ones. So that would be one. That'd be one.
Yeah, well, Shorewood's not too far away. We'll have to go check them out.
Now, the last time I was in Minnesota, I went to a distillery in the former Ham's Brewery. Gosh, I can't think of the name of it. Far North, maybe, but they were doing some stuff.
I know what you're talking about, and some of the people. So we had a restaurant here in town that was actually Knob Creek's biggest buyer. They had sold the most Knob Creek out of their restaurant. It's a meat kind of pork chop, all kinds of stuff. So they're always selling Knob Creek with it. One of the guys there was telling me about that distillery out here. We just haven't had a chance to get out there.
Yeah, I think I've eaten at that restaurant.
Butcher and the Boar.
Yeah, Butcher and the Boar. Yeah, it was great.
Absolutely.
Really like that place.
Yeah, it's a cool vibe.
Yeah. I mean, Minneapolis, I don't understand. I mean, to me, Minneapolis is as happening as like LA or New York during the summer. But then the damn winter hits, and it's like, what the hell just happened?
Where did all the people go?
Yeah, where did the people go? And oh my God, it's freaking cold.
Yes.
Fortunately, you get to play in a dome. So
yes, that is. We were outside for 2 years when they were building that new dome, and it was 2 years too many.
It gets so cold there.
So cold.
All right, so Four Roses. A little story behind this this particular Four Roses. They do these limited editions. They do these limited edition small batch, and they came out in 2014 and said that they were discontinuing the limited edition single barrel, and this was supposed to be like the last single barrel. So I went out and I bought like a case of it. Well, 2 years later or 3 years later, they reinstated the damn thing. I was like, you know what? I didn't have to go and buy all those cases if you guys said it wasn't gonna be the last one. But it's good whiskey. It's good. Do you like? I don't see any Four Roses back there. Do you?
Yeah, there's a bottle.
One back there.
Where did it go? Oh, it's up top. I don't know if you over here.
Oh, yeah,
Just a small batch.
Yeah, right by the Willet. I see it.
Yeah, the small batch.
Yeah, very nice. So what makes Four Roses very, very unique is that they have 5 yeast strains. and it's an old style of it's an old method from their former parent company called Seagram's. They used to have 10 recipes that they would throw into a batch before they bottled it, and they had this belief that by having 10 recipes every single time going into one, that was their best way to keep it consistent. And as they were closing distilleries in the 70s and 80s, they would create new yeast strains to basically compensate for those distilleries being closed, basically losing one of the sources of those 10 different flavors. So now Four Roses has 5 yeast strains, and this one, let me see if I can see what recipe this is. Oh yeah, this is OESF. So this is actually one of my favorite yeast strains. So that's one of the fun things about Four Roses, is that you can trace it by yeast. One of the very few spirits you can do something like that with. I just tasted this the other night for a show, and man, it is so good.
That is good. It tastes completely different than the smell.
Yeah. It's spicy.
Yeah.
Spicy. A big old cinnamon note there for me, just ready to play along.
It's funny. I'm like, something hit me immediately. And as soon as you said cinnamon, I sure is. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah, it's a big old cinnamon note. And sometimes
I didn't get any cinnamon in the smell, which is usually cinnamon is something pretty strong smelling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, usually it does come across. Now, what kind of during the season do you eat all healthy, or do you eat some pancake? I mean, how do you eat? I guess that's.
I would say fairly healthy, but like anything, if you don't enjoy a bourbon or whatever kind of food in moderation, you'll go crazy. We go to training camp in the middle of July, and ideally you're playing until February. So, that's almost 8 months of just on it every day, regimented routine. So, for me, whether it's, like I said, Sunday night after a game, come back, hang out with the fellas, maybe I have family and friends in town, we're ordering some pizza, or stopping at a butcher in the Boar, or there's so many good restaurants in the Twin Cities. I think that's one of the things that I didn't realize until I got here, and certainly has gotten that much better in the 10 years that we've lived here. There's so many good food spots. It seems like we're always stopping for dinner somewhere, going out, having a few cocktails, and then having dinner on Sunday night. So Sunday night's kind of, immediately following the game, kind of our night to relax, decompress a little bit.
Yeah. You get Mondays off, right? Sometimes.
So we're in on Mondays for like a recovery workout, film study. And then Tuesday is actually our players' day off. And if you're not doing something on Tuesday, you're probably falling behind. So to say players' day off is used very loosely. I don't really know a whole lot of guys that just take Tuesday off and go, from Monday to nothing on Tuesday and then back to practice on Wednesday. It's just the season's way too long, and it's too much of a grind on your body to not be taking care of your body or doing something on a Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, Tuesdays for me is usually rum night, so that's me taking care of my body.
There you go. That's your day off from bourbon.
Tuesdays might be my day off from bourbon. It's rum night. Yeah, so I think the reason why I asked that about, like, how healthy you eat, because sometimes, like, what I have found are people that are like vegan or like have some kind of really strict regimental diet. They tend to like not pick up as much on the palate, because their life is celery and lettuce, and they don't know what a good hamburger tastes like anymore. So
yep. Absolutely.
But you obviously don't have that. You don't have that.
No, thankfully, I don't have to eat that clean. Like I said, I try to enjoy everything in moderation. Um, it's way too much for me to eat celery and salads and grilled chicken breast all day, every day.
I mean, I looked at Tom Brady's like diet. I think everybody did, right? And I walked away from that as like, well, you're a better human than I could ever be, and I'm willing to shave off 10 years of my life if that's how I have to eat. So
Absolutely. No, and that's one of the things I always tell people, whether it's training, working out, um, I do most of that so I can do stuff like this and enjoy it. Obviously, it's my job. I have to work out, I have to train, but if you don't enjoy everything in moderation and, if your life is just so regimented and there's never any enjoyment, I don't know how you could do that.
yeah, I know it. And it's like, um, you know, I'm on the other side where my life is pretty much 100% partying, sipping bourbon all the time.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to get back into the workout routine, just in the damn gym closes. And so, the waistline is starting to come back a little bit, but, so moderation is everything to this world. It's
It
everything.
is 100%.
Now I went ahead and poured the barrel again to recap. This was my American whiskey of the year last year. And wait, was it 2 years ago, 2018. This was my American whiskey of 2018. And, it's 15 years old. It is actually a blend of, I believe, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Indiana. So what they do is they blend bourbons from those respective states. And right off the bat, I get a big old coconut note.
Yeah, my sniffer is not as good as yours. It seems that when I taste it, I can pick up things a lot easier than on my nose.
Have you ever broken your nose?
Yeah, one this side. There's a little knot sticking out of that side.
Was that a football injury?
Basketball, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, anyone who's had like any kind of trauma to the nose, can have some issues. But what you might find to be helpful, go side to side.
That's exactly what I just did.
Yeah. If you go side to side, you might find that a breakthrough with one of the nostrils, and who knows, maybe with enough practice, you can cut through the clog and start nosing again.
Yeah. So I definitely can smell better on this side.
Because even though it's like anything else, it's you train it and you'll be able.
Yeah.
Of course, with your dedication, you'll probably become like a taster here pretty soon. With
I leave that to the experts like yourself. I'll just hop on the podcast every once in a while. We can talk about some good stuff.
I don't know. I can see when you retire, you become like you become like a bourbon taster. I like that for you.
Hey, there's worse things to do in retirement, that's for sure.
Yeah. Man, I loved this 2 years ago. I think I love it even more now. Oh man, graham crackers.
I was just they said there's something else in there besides the coconut. To me, I taste that more than, obviously I couldn't smell the coconut, but on the taste palate, it was stronger.
Yeah, this is a really nice velvety. It's got so much stuff in there. I really enjoy this one.
Yeah, that was delicious.
So you, what do you do? So outside of like, all right, so let's take you outside of like Minneapolis, football season, bourbon, all that. What do you do for fun? What do you?
Well, in the summertime here, it's obviously the best time, as you stated earlier. It's gorgeous. The weather's beautiful. we're out on Lake Minnetonka, and we spend a ton of time on the lake, whether that's boating. People ask if I fish all the time. I enjoy fishing, but it's probably third on my list in terms of what I'm going to do in the summer. And it's golf first, then on the boat second, and then not on the boat surfing or just hanging out would be fishing. And so I don't get to do my first two enough. It seems like summers go by so fast. Obviously, we lose the back half of July and August. So early June, early July, those are kind of my hot spots of the summer, if you would, and try to get on the golf course as much as I can. And not on the golf course, we're out on the boat most of the time, just hanging out. Occasionally we'll throw a surfboard in the water and wake surf a little bit, but most of the time we're just hanging out.
Okay. So you're a man who just really likes to hang out with his friends and family.
Yeah, absolutely. Low key, like we've stated a couple of times how great the food scene is here in Minneapolis. We love going out to dinner. I think that's probably one of the things we've missed most in this whole quarantine is being stuck at home. And yeah, we're able to go get carry out and try to do everything we can to support some of these local restaurants and small businesses. But we've been here for 10 years, and we've gotten to know so many of the chefs and the staff at these various restaurants. And that's probably what I say we've missed most throughout this whole quarantine is not being able to go out and have dinner and see those people, because in the off seasons when we have that time to do it more regularly.
And you're probably saying, everyone in Minneapolis is probably saying, why the hell couldn't this quarantine come in the winter?
Literally 2 months earlier, like started at the beginning of February instead of the beginning of April.
Oh man. Well, we're going to both get depressed thinking about that if we talk about it too much.
Just take another sip of that that barrel and you'll be all right.
That's right. That's a good idea. All right. So this is a limited edition release in a few select states. I think it's Washington, California. I don't know how these people decide to do their, what states the whiskey goes in. I can't figure it out, but this is a special brand that's exclusively being sold in Total Wine and a liquor store in California called K&L. So Doc Swenson's 15-year-old, only 2,664 bottles. This is bottle 150.
I like the purple.
Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah.
It is a cool label.
That is cool.
It's a real cool label. Yeah, you get I guess you probably have a little bit more of affection for purple than your regular person.
Yeah, and it's funny, my high school that I went to, and my dad went there, my brother went there, so I knew growing up that's where I was going to go to high school, was purple as well. So I've been in purple my whole life, so it's been an easy transition for me to stay in purple.
Yeah. So purple is your favorite color?
Yes. Yeah. So again, when we were talking about that Will at 15, that purple label, I was trying to get Noah. I'm like, come on, let me have it. Pass it on over.
I'm trying to think of any other brands that use purple. It's not a very common color in American whiskey.
Yeah.
You usually see things like blue and green. Not a lot of orange. You don't see a lot of purple. Some red.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be on a hunt for like purple labels now. So
there you go.
Okay, so this is like I'm going into a barn, and like you can smell like sawdust and just kind of like a general barn smell without without animal shit or something.
Yeah, definitely the wood smell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I dig that. Yeah, it's earthy. It's got some sweetness to it, but it's good. It's not as it's kind of bad for it that it had to follow up the barrel 15-year-old because that one's so good.
I'd say it was a little edgy of the. Well, I guess this is our fourth. So the four that we've tried so far, I definitely that one had a little kick to it.
Yeah, this one it doesn't have that same, and it is 118 proof. So from a pure strength perspective, it is the highest proof one of the bunch.
Yeah, I could taste it. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that's not good. Like you don't want to be able to taste that, So like just because something's barrel proof doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be hot. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
those will actually come in and be very soft on the palate, feel like velvet. In some ways, they won't sting you necessarily, and
Right.
but and I've had 80 proof ones that felt like it was on fire. It hurt like hell. So now
It was good, but like I said, that definitely had a little kick to it compared to the others.
here's the one I think I'm most excited to see your opinion on this one because the Weller Full Proof, when it came out, it just people lost their damn minds. This is coming from Buffalo Trace, and Buffalo Trace, anything they make, I mean, they could put shit in a tin can and call it Buffalo Trace, and somebody would buy it.
Absolutely.
And the thing is their whiskey's damn good.
It is very good.
Caramel City for me on the nose.
Yeah, it's funny when you give me a smell to like hunt for. So far, pretty much all of them I found. The honey, the wood, coconut probably was the only one that I didn't really get. But when I smell it, and then you tell me what I should be hunting for, it comes almost immediately.
That's awesome. That's that could be a good way that we train your nose.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on a few particular notes, and then when then you go back and smell it later, see if you pick it up, and then when you do that, your brain's looking right, and so maybe you pick up something else while you're at it. Oh, that's tasting good.
Yeah, that's delicious.
Wow. That is tasting real good. Of this tasting, I think that might be my favorite. And I'm picking it over my whiskey.
Barrel.
Yeah, from a couple of years ago.
I really enjoyed the barrel as well. Obviously the full proof is delicious, but
all right,
I'd say they're neck and neck.
I just went back to barrel. I'm going to change my mind. The barrel. It's neck and neck. It is. It is definitely a close race for what's winning my palate on this tasting. Now, let's say you bring actually, I don't even know if you could do this. I don't know what the rules are, but let's say you bring that bottle of Van Winkle into the locker room, and you go off outside to, I don't know, greet somebody or something. How long before someone swipes it from your locker?
Probably not long. There are enough guys in there that know their bourbon and would see that bottle and swipe it. Behind me on the other side, I have a few that are still in the
Nice.
in their the little bags.
Yeah.
So the 12 years out, like I said, the 12 year we can We can share the 12. I have a 20 and a 23 on the other side that, like you said, if you leave them out, people are going to drink them. So try to keep them in the back corner and keep them hidden.
Yeah, well, you got to protect them. It's like protecting your quarterback in some ways.
Absolutely.
Those are your babies for you.
That would be the $86 million quarterback over there. Got to protect it.
I love that reference. That's awesome. So, man, it's really great tasting with you, and I know we'll probably do something again down the road. I know you've got a big heart. You do a lot for charity. Is there anything you want to give a shout out to right now that folks can go check out?
I would love to. Actually, my wife and I here in the Twin Cities started a meal plan at a food bank that we've done work at in the past called Second Harvest Heartland. And in the past, they've provided meals for food insecure families. People oftentimes think about homeless and starving people going to a food bank, but what you don't really realize is, sometimes families can only provide 3 meals, 4 meals a week, and then they need a couple others. And obviously this pandemic has exponentially increased the number of families that need a meal here and there. So we pledged 82,000 meals at Second Harvest, and we have a goal of raising almost 600,000 meals. And in just over 2 weeks, we've raised, I believe, $83,000. So I've told a lot of the people here in the Twin Cities and our market, the smallest of gift, to some people doesn't seem like a lot, but if you break it down, $25 can feed one person for a month. And, I think when people hear that, they're more likely to hop on and just give whatever they can. Obviously it's tough times right now for everyone. But through that messaging, we've been able to get so much support from everybody here in the Twin Cities, but all over the country as well.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you talk about this. We have a food bank here called Dare to Care in Louisville, and I actually have emceed and served as the curator of their main fundraiser every year. And I do a music festival that we gave them a portion of ticket sales, and it was created in Louisville in the 1960s when a family, basically they had, the mom and dad were both working and they couldn't feed their kids. And a kid, at I think he was 7 years old, he weighed 15 pounds. He died, and his sisters and the brothers were in the same shape. They lived. But like you said, people don't understand how many people are food insecure, and they don't understand. People want to say well, they can just go get a job and they can go, save money better and not do this and not do that. That's actually not true. I mean, you have hardworking moms and dads who cannot provide for their family because of circumstances and the wages they earn, and that's why those food banks exist.
Yep. And obviously with the circumstances now, their needs and their volume has been just exponentially increased. You got so many kids that meals come from school, and obviously they're not in school right now. So whether it's kids that aren't in school or families, mom and dad aren't working, aren't getting a paycheck, and those were already meals that were few and far between. It just puts that much stress and pressure on families. So it was something that we wanted to do with a food bank that we had worked with in the past.
Right on, man. That's awesome, man. Thank you for everything that you do, for your community and bringing awareness to that. And also, I look forward to this all being over and we can share a dram together and toast properly. So
I would love that. We're in Louisville quite often. So the next time I'm back in town, I'll have to hit you up and get together for a good glass of bourbon.
Well, with me, I just the caveat, you can't blame me for how you feel the next day. That's my only caveat. Everybody wants to yell at me the next day when they go drinking bourbon with me, but I warn them. I warn them.
That's all right. I'll sign up for that.
All right, we'll be good. We'll be good. I promise. I'll take you out somewhere nice. We'll have some good bourbon. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody go check out Kyle. He's on the Instagram, the Twitters, he's everywhere. And if you're not a Vikings fan after this, I hope at least you're a Kyle Rudolph fan. So thanks again, Kyle. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Fred, I appreciate you having me. That was really a pleasure.
Until next time, my friend. Cheers.
Cheers.